So yeah, welcome guys to this series. Is going to be 3 weeks, and the aim of this session, basically these 3 weeks free SQL, is basically to give you guys, a sort of footing into the world of data, especially for any one of you that has not been working in the area of data. You want to have some transition into the data career. This is an opportunity for you to learn SQL, okay? Because if you want to be in data, then you don't have a choice than just to learn SQL. As a matter of fact, that's pretty much the first language that it's always good to learn, okay? And what I want to do right here is to give you a very good foundation upon which you can build more things yourself, okay? So in terms of you want to get to the intermediate and to the advanced level SQL, you can build up upon this, okay? And what we're going to be doing today is I'm just going to be looking at the intro to SQL, and we're going to be looking at some basic concepts. Therein also, we're going to be looking at the different career that involves knowing SQL. As part of this PowerPoint I will be showing. And then we will go to we'll take an overview of the DVD rental database. And then after that, we are going to be looking at some practice questions, because as you know, and that's the basic reason why I'm also organizing this, I realize that a lot of folks, they watch videos, but at the end of the day, they don't practice questions, okay? And because of that, you don't get better when you don't practice, you learn by doing, okay? And also, I plan that we have maybe 1 or 2 breakout sessions. And the reason is that I want you guys, to bond, to start knowing each other, and that is the way you network yourself. That's one. And also, how do you come as a group to solve a question? Okay, so those are kind of stuff that you are going to be getting out in breakout session, because you're going to be having people having different ideas. You're going to be having some sort of division of labor. Say, oh, you do this, you do that, you look for this on Google, so that you guys can solve the questions. So we're going to be having 1 or 2 depending on time. But for sure, I will try to make sure we have one. Then before we end up the call for today, I will pass out some instructions as well. And I believe that some of you may have, read all the different information that I sent to you. And some of you may have also watched the videos I've asked you to watch. If you're not able to watch that today, that's fine. I will try and take it slow today. However, we encourage you that for next class, make sure you watch all the videos which I have instructed you to watch. Okay. Now, let us start taking a look at this. The SQL intro and basic concept. And if for some reason you want to ask any question, please don't hesitate to unmute yourself and ask your question, okay? And also, if you are in a position to be able to show your video, okay, please do, so that we can see faces right here. As you know that in such learning as this, as you see people's face, then you guys get to network each other. We know how everybody looks and stuff like that, All right. And also, it helps me to know that I'm talking to people and not some chatbot somewhere that you guys have plugged into your computer. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about the different career options right here that is in need of SQL. But before we do that, I want you to look at this image right here that I'm showing right here. Okay. If you take a look at this is talking about the top skills for data nerds. Okay. If you look at this, you realize that Python and SQL, they are at the top of the list right here. Of course, as you move higher in your data career, you also need to know some of these as well, okay? But what that means is that if you really want to get into this field, what are the 2 languages that you pretty much need to know? If you know those, then you are good to go. We are talking about Python, we are talking about SQL, okay? And because SQL, it's, easier to learn within 1 month or so, you can quickly, get up to speed with SQL, and that's why it's good to quickly learn SQL. Don't waste time on that. And then from there, you can then start looking into Python, okay? And then if you take a look at this, by the way, I got this also from LinkedIn, and also from you can start looking at, say you want to learn some BI tool like Tableau. You can learn Tableau, you can learn Power BI, you can even learn those while you are learning SQL, because those are visualization tools, and it's good for you to learn that. Okay, now in terms of the career options, we are talking about software development, we are talking about data analytics. If you want to become a data analyst, you want to become a business analyst, a data science guy, that's a data scientist, a data engineer, you want to go into machine learning engineering, you want to go into data warehousing, data administration, business intelligence engineering, you want to get into that space, you need to know SQL. You want to be a web application developer, you need to know that, okay? And I also include process engineer right here. And why did I include process engineer? I was formerly a process engineer, and basically everything that we do involves data. That means when you are running processes, you need to be able to ascertain if your process is running correctly or not, right? And sometimes you want to automate some of your, your data collections, right? So that means for you to be able to do that, to be a successful process engineer that will be leveraging automation or data, it's a very, very good thing for you to know SQL. As a matter of fact, when I was a process engineer, I did a lot of work in the area of automating data reporting, dashboarding, and stuff like that, one-click dashboard and stuff like that. So it's always good for you to, learn all these things if you really want to get into any of these fields. And take note, there are still some other fields that also would require you to learn SQL. This is not an exhaustive list right here, okay? Now, what is data right here? Now, I'm sure a lot of you know what data is, but then, of course, for the sake of this class, when you talk about data, okay, you're just talking about information about anything, okay? Take, for example, right here, we could be talking about information about a student, okay? So that means if I ask you to give me some information about specific students in your class, or just say a random student, right? What are the things that will come to your mind? You probably want to talk about the student's name. You want to talk about the email address of the student. You want to talk about maybe the phone number of the student, age of the student, the class of the student, the grades of the student, right? There may be the subject of the student. In some cases, you want to put the image. Maybe you take a passport photograph of the student and then you attach it to a particular file, right? Those are information, the name of school of the student, right? So all this makes up information. The same thing applies to if you want to get the information of employee, right? A lot of us right here, you work in one place or the other, right? So you also have information. All these are data. How are these data collected? How are these data stored, right? Now, you agree with me that in those days, what we do basically is we have like an A4 paper. Let's say somebody comes to you and wants to register for a particular course, just like the way you guys register for this course. In those days, when there was nothing like this, computerized systems, I would have taken a plain sheet of paper and I would have said, could you please write down your names if you are interested in this course, right? And then I would have put it in a file. And for every cohort, I would have been creating a sort of cabinet right here for you guys, and put those information right there. But now things have changed. Things have changed. We want to make sure that things are stored electronically. And that is where database comes in. As I put right here, that database is a systematic or organized collection of data or information. Take note of that word, data or information, that is organized in such a way that it can be easily accessed, managed, retrieved, updated, or deleted. You will notice that in those days, if you have your folders or your files right here, you might probably label each of these filing cabinet. You can say, okay, maybe this is the employee, this is, let's say, the student's information. Then you can say this other one is maybe the teacher's information. Then maybe this other one, you can say administrative staff information, right? And then the other one, you can say non-administrative staff information, right? And then whenever you want to retrieve any of those information, you just go check the label, pull out the filing cabinet and check the file, right? But right now, if it involves database, then you don't do that anymore. All you have to do is you write some SQL commands that interact with the database and then brings out or sends the information back to you. Okay. So now the main goal of a database is to efficiently store data. You can see that. Take note. You are storing data on the database and then you are returning it whenever you request it. Whenever you want it, then you return it. Okay. Very good. Now, remember, if you have any question, please don't forget to unmute yourself and ask your question, okay? And like I said, if you are in a position to turn on your camera, please do, okay? Now, what is a database management system? Databases, they are managed by what we call database management systems, DBMS. Some of you may have been hearing different kinds of, database management systems. You talk about Postgres, you talk about MySQL, you talk about MongoDB, you talk about Microsoft Access. All these are database management systems. What do these things do? What does the database management systems do? It is basically a software, right, or programs that you install on your computer. Okay, it helps users, that's you, or applications to access the databases and handle storage, retrieval, and processing of your data. What do we mean right here? I told you guys to install Postgres SQL Server, right? So what that means is that you are installing a Postgres database management system. Okay, so now that Postgres, you are installing that on your computer. Okay, and then if you want to create a database and also create database tables and then load tables, you are going to be using that database management system. So what happens is that, let's say this is you right here as a data analyst or a data engineer or machine learning engineer, you are going to be writing SQL query. So when you write SQL query, that interacts with the database management system because the database management system understands what you have written, okay? And let's say what you have written is to create a database. Then this database management system create a database on your computer, okay? When you write an SQL query to load data into a particular table, okay, the database management system also then interacts with your query. It understands your query and then creates table and also load data onto your database. Okay, that is what database management system is all about. And there are different flavors of the database management systems, or you could say different flavors of SQL, And if you look at this, you also have more than this. You have MongoDB, Microsoft Access, SQL Server, MySQL, IBM Database 2, SQLite, PostgreSQL. This is the one we are going to be using in this class. And then you have Oracle. Some of them are open source, while some of them are enterprise. If we say open source, what does that mean? It means it is free. It is free. It is non-profit. Some folks out there, they came together and they built something for the world, and we all can tap into it and use it for our own need, right? And if it's enterprise, means that you have to pay for it before you use it. Okay, take for example, PostgreSQL and MySQL. These are open source. Okay. All right, like Microsoft SQL Server, this one is enterprise, I believe. Access is enterprise. Oracle Database, I believe, is also enterprise. Okay, but MySQL and Postgres, these are open source, and that is why we are using Postgres. It is open source, so you don't have to pay for that. Okay. Any questions so far?
No.
No questions.
Questions. All right. Thank you. Yeah, give me 1 second, please. Let me get something right here.
Or let me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. With this many DBMSs, I mean, I know this is a long shot question because we're just in the onset of the program. But which are we supposed to master or be proficient in several DBMSs? That's one question. Second question is there a preference in DBMSs once you are, maybe trying to upskill, or you're trying to, maybe in my case, trying to just, add to what skills you have or tools you can use to be able to, advance in your career. So is there like a top DBMS, that's out there, is in demand? Let's call it that.
Yeah, very good question. Very good question. Yeah, so there is no particular one that I would say that, oh, you need to really learn that right now. This is in demand. No. And that's because, and that's going to go to, I think, my next slide, where I'm going to be telling you that pretty much all these flavors that you have, they are similar in terms of their syntax. So, and that's the mistake that most, newbies, beginners always make. They always want to learn everything. You don't have to learn everything. Take, for example, even I myself, since I've been using Postgres, usually I've just been using PostgreSQL and my SQL. I started with my SQL, and then at my work, I'm using Postgres SQL, okay? So what you just want to do is just pick one, especially right now that I'm introducing you to PostgreSQL. Just continue with this. This will take you far. Okay, so take, for example, you have a job. You get a job right now, and then at your job, this is what you guys are using. Take, for example, even at my job, I was asked to update something on SQL Server, okay? But because the syntax are pretty much almost the same, if there is anyone that is not the same, just go on Google, type it on Google, and Google gives you the answer, okay? So, and that is why you just focus on one first, and then continue that way. Master that. Master. Even if you want to go for interviews, they won't force you to use SQL Server or Oracle database. No, they will ask you which one are you confident, using to answer the question. The same thing applies to when they give you a programming question, that they will say, okay, do you want to use Python or Java or any of such? They are not interested in which of the SQL they are used, but rather how can you apply some logic to solve the question? That is what they are after, okay? So now, so just pick one. However, let's say after some time, let's say after some few years or one year or so, or even some few months, 6 months, 9 months, and you are becoming confident down the line, then you can pick MongoDB. And why do we say pick MongoDB? Because MongoDB is a no SQL database management system. It's different from PostgreSQL, MySQL, which are relational database. MySQL, these are relational database. Okay, so you can pick up MongoDB. But for a start, don't even pick up these right now. Just pick up any of these ones. Just pick your Postgres SQL, MySQL, SQL Server, But like I said, since we are already introducing you to PostgreSQL, I would say just stick to this right now. Even this is what I use right now. In fact, for some time right now, this is what I've been using. Even though I started with this, but that was when I was learning. But however, I moved to this, and this is what I've been using. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so now this goes now we go into what we call SQL. Maybe some of you may have been asking, or maybe many of you know that what is SQL itself? It is called structured query language. It is a language with which you query databases. Okay, so basically it is a language that helps to interact or communicate with databases. Like we talked about database management system right now, right? You write your code using SQL. That's interacts with the database management system. Database management system understands what you have written and then does what you want it to do in terms of maybe you want it to create database, or you want it to create tables, or you want it to load data into a database. And these are the things we are going to be looking at in the third week. I want to teach you how you create database, and also how you create tables, and how you load data into the table, and also how you update data in your database table. I want to teach you this in the third week, okay? But for the first and second week, we are going to be focusing on how do you retrieve data that is already stored in your database. That is the first thing you need to know, okay? So the SQL helps to store, access, remove, or retrieve, data or information in a relational database. Each flavor, like I was saying, each flavor has its own dialect, like I was just telling you right now, but mostly similar. I think about 85% or so is similar, okay? But if there is anything that it's different, then you just go on Google, then you just check. Let's say for Postgres, there is a particular way you use to calculate the length of a string, right? And then for, let's say, Microsoft SQL Server, it's a different way of writing it. You may not know it by heart. Just go on Google, type it on Google, or even on ChatGPT. ChatGPT is going to give you that. Then you can use it in your query at work, okay? So but just stick to one first, so that you are not all over the place. At the end of the day, you're all over the place and you are master of nothing. And that is what I've seen happen to many people. Okay, and that's why, like I said, is the reason why I brought this course. A lot of people also watch videos, but they don't practice. And that's why I want us to spend some time to practice questions in this program. That is why you're going to be watching my videos on YouTube, and then you come to class, we practice questions, okay? Now, let us look at the 6 fundamental SQL statements now that you need to know. Now, after this, then we'll look at an overview of the database that we're going to be working on, and then we'll start practicing some problem sets right here, guys, okay? Now, these 6 fundamental statements, you really need to know them, okay? You can see the way they are in this order, right? Now, the first thing is what we call the select command. What does it do? The select command allows you to specify which columns you want to retrieve. Let's say I ask you to give me the first and the last name of the students in our student table. Okay, take note, I said first name and the last name. Okay, now it is in this select command that you will specify those columns that you want first name, you want last name. Okay, now let's assume I say, give me all the columns in that table. It is still in this command, this select command, that you will specify that. Take, for example, if you look at this right here, I said select star from employees. This select is this select command that you are talking about right here. This from means from which table. That is what I have right here, from. It allows you to specify which table you want to pull data from. And that's one beauty thing about SQL. Just if you understand the English already, it's already intuitive already. It makes it easy already for you to know what you're talking about. I'm selecting star from employees. Now, what is this star? This star means all the columns in this table, employees table. I hope we all understand that right now. We are selecting all the columns. Whenever you see select star, it means you are selecting all the columns from this table, employees table. They would have given you the employees table, okay? Now, take a look at the second one. I said select first name, last name, email. You can see right here, I'm selecting, I'm specifying the columns I want. In this case now, I don't want all the columns right here. I only want 3 columns. Now, from which table? From employees table. Okay, take note of that, guys. Now, another thing we want to also learn is the where clause or the where command. This is optional. It is not all the time that you're going to be using it. It depends on what the requirement is. It depends on what the question is asking you to do, okay? Now, what does the where clause do? Where's my cursor? My cursor has disappeared. Okay. Now, the where clause allows you to retrieve, modify, or delete specific rows that meet certain criteria or certain condition rather than operating on the entire data set. What does that mean? Take a look at this employee table that we are talking about right here, employee table. As you know, if you are talking about employees, you can have employees in different departments. You can have the IT department, advertising department, you can have sales department, marketing department, supply chain department, right? But then I don't want to pull, let's say your manager said, can you pull for me the names, the first name, last name, and email of the employees we have in the sales department? In that case, he already specified to you that only the sales department. So what you need to do is write your select command, put the columns that you want, okay? Put the name of the table you want to retrieve from, which is that from command, and then put a where clause right here, okay? Now take note, this select, from, and where, you could also write it in lowercase, okay? But for me, I like to write it in uppercase so that it can be differentiated from all these other things right here, okay? So now you are saying where department equals to sales. And take note, you put sales in quotes. That means it is a string. So by the time you pull this, it only pulls for you the information of those employees in the sales department. Okay? Very good, guys. Now, there is another we call group by. What does group by do? Group by is used to group rows in your data set based on the values in one or more columns. What are we trying to say? Take, for example, in this one that we were talking about where department equals to sales, I may remove this where clause and I may just say I want to group by, say, the department. But let's take a look at this one just for us to better understand what we are talking about right here. If you look at this, we selected category, right? And then we said that we want to calculate the sum of the sales amount. We call that total sales. Don't worry, you understand more about all this as we practice more questions, okay? Now, from the sales table, take note, from means which table. Then right here, you are now grouping by category, So that means that, let's say the category you have in your company are, let's say in the sales or in your database table, let's say your category is, let's say you have electronics, let's say you have groceries, let's say you have, what else again? You have books, okay? Now, what this query is trying to tell you is that group your items that you are selling in categories. So I have electronics, I have books, right? I have groceries. And then sum all the sales amounts, sum them up and give us the total sales. That means that how much did you sell for, how much is the sales for the electronics? How much is the sales for books? How much is the sales for groceries? Versus saying how much is the sales for TV? How much is the sales for computer? How much is the sales for radio? That's not what we're talking about right here. Right now, you have grouped TV, computer, radio, keyboard. Maybe all those are part of electronics. You have grouped them all together and you are getting the sales amount. You have grouped books, textbooks, notebooks, anything that has to do with stationaries. You have grouped them together as books, okay? So that is what this group by does, okay? You have grouped rows together that are of the same sort of liking, you've grouped them together. We are going to be looking at more examples. This group by, we are going to be exploring group by next week very well, okay? Now, having, what is having? It allows you to retrieve, modify, or delete specific rows that meet certain criteria or conditions rather than operating on the entire data set, okay? Now, somebody will say, oh, but having is pretty much the same as where. What's the difference? Yes, they are pretty much almost the same, but there is a difference right there. Having can only be used when you have group by present. So that means that when you have group by right here, I could have having right there, okay? So like in this case now, since there is group by, I could do something like this. Sorry, let me show you something. I could do something like this. After I say group by category, I can then come like this and I'll say having, I can say having this sum of sales amount, I can say greater than 100. What is this saying right here? What this is pretty much saying is that after you group by category, okay, return for me only those categories that are the sales amount, the sum of the sales amount is greater than 100. You can see now how I've filtered that down because you are grouping by, but you cannot use having without having group by, okay? We are going to be exploring example of that next week, okay? Now, there is something we also call order by. Order by is used when you want to sort your output, you want to sort your query, okay? What does that mean? Let's say, for example, in the case of this one, we are selecting first name and salary from the employees table. Right now, you guys understand what a select command is. You understand what from is, yeah, from the table, and then order by now means how do I want the output to look like? So in this case now I can say I want to order by salary, okay? And here I put descending, DESC. You can write it full, or you can also shorten it as DESC. And this is what you are going to see many people using it as, okay? But if you want to have it, if you want to use ascending, if you want to order it by in ascending, that's the smallest to the biggest, then you can just type in ascending, or you say ASC. Like I said, mostly you're going to be saying ASC and not in full name, okay? So these are the 6 fundamental SQL statements that for a beginner, start with this first, okay? Then as you proceed, especially in our 3rd week, then I'll start introducing you to how you create database, where we're going to be using the create command. How do we insert records into the database, where we use the insert command, okay? But today, we are only going to be, but for right now, especially for 1st and 2nd week, we are going to be focusing more on using these commands. And then next week, I will introduce you to join. And that is where a lot of people always have, issues in joining. How do you join data? How do you join tables together? Okay. And also, I encourage you, go and watch the videos that I already have on my YouTube channel, because that is when, all these things are going to be doing in class will make more sense to you, especially next week that we are going to be going in depth. Okay. I'm not going to be explaining all these fundamentals again. We are just going to delve in and start, solving more questions. So go to my YouTube channel and, start watching those videos so that you understand the concept. Okay. Very good, guys. Any questions so far before we get into the overview section of the DVD rental database? Any questions so far? No question. Okay. Very good. Now, the database that we are going to be using for this. Okay, someone asked a question.
Yeah, sorry to cut you short. I just have a quick question as regard.
Sure.
On the listed database management system you showed us earlier on in the slide, we have varieties of database you listed to SQL, Oracle, and the RAM. Do they all run on the same queries we're trying to learn? Can we use this on every other database management system? Because Oracle and PostgreSQL, all they're learned. But when it to bit more, and I don't know which of them A.
Yeah.
Can we use the same query language for all of them?
Yeah. So if you look at what I mentioned right here, I said each flavor has its own dialect. So what that means is that the way you write the query for Postgres, okay, is different from the way you write for MySQL. It's different from the way you write for SQL Server. It's different from how you write from DB2. However, take note, they are mostly similar. So about 85% of them are similar. So what that means is that about 85% of the way you are going to write the SQL syntax for Postgres will be the same with MySQL, will be the same with this. But there are few differences, okay? So at that point, when you have differences, let's say now, I've taught you Postgres, which is what I'm teaching you in this course, right? And you're already a master of that, okay? And then you got a job. And then your manager says, hey, we are going to be using MySQL. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be scared. Like I said, it's pretty much about 85% of the same syntax we are using here that you're also going to be using right here. However, any syntax that you use here that is not working, right? Just go on ChatGPT or Google. Just check out how do you do this in MySQL. Then Google or ChatGPT gives to you. Then you just apply it. Do you get that now? Take for example, MongoDB is a NoSQL database. It has its own syntax. Okay, SQLite has its own syntax. They are mostly similar to Postgres. It is only this one that I can tell you that might be different more or less a little bit than the other ones. Okay, but they are mostly similar, which is why you don't need to learn everything. Just pick one and then be master of that. Do you get it now?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes. Take, for example, I'm a data engineer, but I never learned database 2, DB2. To be frank with you, you understand? This is Oracle. I never learned Oracle, but I'm a data engineer. But guess what? If my manager tells me today now that we want to change our database management system to Oracle, right? Then I'm not going to be afraid. I will just use pretty much the same syntax that I know in Postgres, but anyone that is not working, then I will just go on Google, right, and say, how do you do this in Oracle? I could remember when I first started using Redshift. Redshift is a data warehouse on Amazon, on AWS. The first time I used it, basically I was using PostgreSQL syntax. Then I forgot what exactly I wanted to do that day, but it wasn't working. It was giving me error. Then what did I do? I just went online and say, how do you do so thing in Redshift? Then Google gave me, then ChatGPT was not out then. Then Google directed me to something. Then I used that, then it worked. Do you understand? So as a beginner, don't stress yourself learning everything. No. If you do that, you are just killing yourself more. That is the more reason why you see beginners, they don't get to any level. They keep staying in that low level, and they keep saying, oh, I've not gotten a job, or they keep saying, oh, I don't know what to do, I'm stuck, because they are trying to learn everything. Do not make that mistake, please. I beg you. Don't make that mistake. Just pick one, focus on it, and then build yourself up from there. Do you understand that now, guys? Very good. Very good. Now, let's quickly look at the database that we are going to be working with, okay? Now, remember, you have your curriculum right there. I've shown you your curriculum. I'm sure you guys have access to that right now. If you don't have access to it, please let me know. Send me email. Okay, send me email if you don't have access to that. So, but everybody that have registered, I've given access to the curriculum, and I've given a whole lot of information. And for those of you that just received all this information last night or something, maybe because you just registered or you registered late, I'm very sorry that, you have so many information that you need to unpack before today. Next time when I'm organizing this, I will try as much as possible to make sure that we have at least a week between the last day of registration and when the class starts, so that you guys can have enough time to prepare, watch the videos, and have everything ready for this class. Okay, but let's try to catch up for next week. Okay, all right. Now, if you have a database, take note, what you are going to be having is a whole lot of tables in that database, and then your boss wants you to do some things. It might be something that will involve just using one table. It's something that might involve using 20, 30 tables. Think of a company like Amazon that has millions of products, and you are a data analyst or you are a data engineer, and your boss wants you to, or a business intelligence engineer, and your boss wants you to do something. Right in front of you, you have 120 tables. How do you do that? So you first of all make sure you understand those tables and how those tables are related to each other. And that is what this website has given us, which we call entity relation model or entity relation diagram. In another cohort of class that I'm going to be organizing, I'll be teaching you, how to set up entity relation model. But for this class, let's just take what we have right here that has been done for us as part of this DVD rental database. If you look at this, we have 15 tables. If you count them, there are 15 tables, and it shows how they are related to each other. Okay, so we have a category table, which is related to film category, and all these different things that you see right here, these are the columns in each of the table. Okay, you have the film table. Okay, these are the columns you have right there. You have the language. You have film actor. Film actor, you can see this was the actor ID and the film ID. Okay, and then you have the inventory. Inventory has all this information. You have the rental. You have the payment table. It has all these columns. You have staff table. You have actor table. So you need to get, you need to familiarize yourself with these tables before you can be able to answer any question that your boss wants to give you. As a matter of fact, what they say is when let's say you start a job and they introduce you to your database, go and spend some time understanding the structure of your database and the tables that you have, so that when your boss asks you to do anything, you know where to go. Okay, so we have the customer table, address. Okay, if you look at this, the customer table is linked to the address. So that means the customer also have address, right? And this also is linked to the staff table. You have the city, you have the country, and you have the store. That means what store did those customers bought their goods. Okay, so this is what this store is also capturing. And this store is also capturing, it says address ID, it says manager staff ID, it says store ID. So there is a store ID for each of those stores. Okay, and one of the reasons why you also need to learn how these are related is by the time you want to start doing some joining right there, you would be able to know what can I join to what. And that's when I'm going to be teaching you primary key and foreign key. By the time you start watching the videos for against next week, you will see where I explain primary key and foreign key. And we are going to be exploring that in questions next week. Okay, very good, very good. Any question right here before we now start going into solving questions? I believe that's the next thing. We want to practice questions. Any question right here? This is just an overview.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So like when you see the lines, you see the way there's like, I don't know if I could use my pen here. The way you have this part, this thing, and this thing over here. Do they matter or they don't? Or is it just, are those symbols?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yeah, those matters, okay? And as a matter of fact, that is when we are talking about, when you're talking about one-to-one join or many-to-many joins. And, different people use different ways of doing it. In some cases, you don't see this two vertical lines. You could just see you can just see one line like this, comes this way, and then you have three, branches. And what that means is that one of these, as you say, one-to-many relationship. That means one of these relates to many of these right here. You understand? But the reason I don't want to delve into this right now is, like I said, I don't want to bore you guys with some more some more bigger stuff. But rather focusing on what will at least take you from that beginner level. But yes, that matters whenever we are drawing the entity relation diagram. But very good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think somebody else also wanted to have a question. Anybody else?
Yes, so just a quick one.
Sure.
You mentioned this ER model. How does this come by default? For example, in a real-time scenario, you said you should ask for it. Like, is it like going to be accessible? Like the ER model of the database, how do we reach it? For example, this one for the DVD rental model.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's in the curriculum you sent. I mean, is it easily accessible? Do we have to request for it?
Oh, do you mean what I'm showing? Do you mean what I'm showing you right?
Whatever.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Do you mean what I'm showing you right now, or in the real life? In the industry?
Yes, in the industry. I mean, are we going to get this ER model? Is it part of the, what you're going to need to work with? You said it's good to have a view of the ER model to understand, the relationship like you mentioned. So, but what I'm saying is it going to be something that is also presented to you? Say, for example, in real life, as you mentioned it, and you're working, and they say, okay, you're working on this database, you're going to do this, blah, blah, blah. This is your ER model, or do I request for it, or is it improper to request for it, or is it,
Okay, very good question. Very good question. So in real life, you are going to do this yourself. So think of it as your boss.
Yeah, there you go. Now I get it. So okay.
Yeah. So like for this one that we are doing right now, we are doing this because the DVD rental database table that we are using, we are downloading it from this website. So they have done this for us already. If you go through my curriculum and the video I asked you guys to watch, I already explained all of that and I already put the link to this in that video. Take note, for this first week, I asked you guys to watch the first 15 videos. Let me bring it right here for you guys to.
Yes. So the first 16.
Yeah. Let me bring it right here. Okay. So if you go to playlist right here, if you go to my website, right, tuplespectra, and then you go to playlist. I already put everything in playlist, complete Postgres playlist. So for this week, we rely on the internet a lot, and for this week, what you should have listened to is 1 to 15 for you to be able to partake very well in what we are doing today. And then if you look at 4, if you look at this tutorial 4, this is where I explained this DVD rental database. And then I put the link. You can see this is the link to that entity relation diagram. If you open it, this is it right here. Okay. So I encourage you guys to go watch that if you have not watched it. And also for next week, go and watch the remaining ones that I've also asked you to watch. I forgot what range of videos I asked to watch for the other one. But if you check the curriculum, it's there. We can also take a look at it at the end of the class if we have more time. Okay. So, but in real world, what happens is you are going to have a database, right, that has a lot of tables. You might be lucky that the entity relation diagram has been made for that for those tables already, for that database, before you joined that team. Okay. However, there are times that you are the one that will have to do that. Let's say you join the team and that's the first project that your boss gave to you. Or your boss just say, okay, go and do this. And that thing would involve you to draw an entity relation diagram. Okay. Or it might involve you to draw a part of the entity relation diagram for the entire database. You will have to do that. That is why an understanding of how to do this is very, very important. And that's why I said in another class that I'm going to be organizing, that's getting to the intermediate level, we are going to be doing that. Okay. Very good. Any question again before we now start getting into some coding right here? Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good. Now, the next thing is if you got the my information, you realize that I put something right here. Let me show you guys again. For those of you that have not taken a look at the curriculum, let me quickly go there so that, just to let you guys know what we are talking about right here. If you go to my curriculum, this is what you would see. So I gave you guys access. So students, beginner folder right here on this Google Drive. If you open right here, you have this curriculum. Okay. Now, inside this curriculum, of course, you have the Zoom link, which you have the playlist, the video playlist. This is it that I just showed you. Read all this information if you have not read there. Ensure you subscribe to tuplespectra YouTube channel. Okay. And this is what you have in the curriculum. Now, for each week, we are going to be having in-class practice problem set. So I'll be putting the link to that right here. So for this week, I already have this right here. For next week, I don't have it yet, but in the course of the week, on Friday, I'll put the link to that right there, okay? So if you click this link, it's going to take you to this page where you are going to have the questions that we are going to be dealing with. If we are not able to finish the question, you can go home and finish it up, or maybe first thing the next week we quickly tackle it. Okay, so please make sure you try to go through that. Okay, and that's the only way you can be very good at these things, especially for interviews, because they're going to be giving you very difficult questions at interviews that you have to think on the spot, right? Of course, sometimes it's easy depending on how much practice you've got. Okay, and that's why I really want us to spend time in practicing questions. How do we think about which table we want to pull data from based on the requirement, based on the question? Because nobody is going to be telling you that, oh, go to this table, then join it to this table, then join it to this table. No, they will just tell you, oh, can you pull for me so and so thing? So you are the one that needs to think that, oh, I can get it from this table. Oh, I need to merge these two tables together. Oh, I need to do this, I need to do that, okay? And those are the kind of stuff I want to get out from these 3 weeks class, okay? Now, if you have yours opened, please, if you have yours right there, please have it opened. But I'm going to be toggling between let me first of all ask, is there anyone that doesn't have this? Otherwise, I can just put the link right here in this chart so you guys can open it if you cannot access it right now. That way I don't have to be toggling between this page and the PG admin. Do you guys agree? Does that sound good?
Yes, it does. It makes it easier.
Yeah, I don't want to be toggling. Yeah, thank you. So I've already dropped in this chart right now. I've dropped the link to that. Yeah, let me know if you guys can access it.
Yeah, I can.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Good. I love that. Okay, very good. Now let us look at the very first question. The very first question. Take note, in my case, I have loaded that database into my Postgres server. So, and I have a video as part of those first 15 videos. I've showed you how you can do that. Go home, go back home, or after this class, basically, you are already at home anyways. So go and load that into your own Postgres and start practicing. Okay, start practicing. And this video also, maybe by tomorrow or so, I'll upload it on my YouTube channel so that if you need to go back there and listen to whatever we did today, you can also go back and listen to that. Okay, please mute yourself. I can see somebody is not right now. Idris, I think the name is Idris, science-based class. Let me see if I can mute this person. Okay, I've muted. Okay, very good question. Okay, now let's move on. It says return all the actors' first name and their IDs. Return all the actors' first name and their IDs. And remember that we just took a look at the different tables that we have, right? Now, in the case of this, return the actor's first name and the IDs. What is the first thing that will come to mind? Look at this. We have all these tables right here. This actor to this store table, that's 15, right? First thing that comes to mind is actor, right? So that means that if you look at this actor table, you can write a query and say you want to look at all the columns first. Before you get to the final answer, you want to at least look at it that, okay, what are the columns that I have in actor table? Does it match the requirements of the question? Now, you take a look. Everybody, we know what a select statement will do for us. And we know that if you say select star, it means give me all the columns, right? Then I will say from what? Actor. Then I will type actor because we want to look at the actor table. Remember, the question did not say we should look at actor table. It just says, give me the actor's first name and their IDs, right? Then based on that, we think because we have gone through our database tables, we have an idea of the tables that we have. We believe that actor should be the table. Let's try that. So I will come right here. I will execute. Very good. You can see right here. It gives me actor ID. It gives me first name. It gives me last name. And of course, last updates, right? You can see that, guys. But then the question says it wants me to give only the first name and the actor ID, right? And I've also explained to you with select statement or select command, I can specify the columns, right? So I will just say first name, right? Put a comma, take note, put a comma. Then I can type actor ID. Actor ID. Take note, you can also do it right here. You can also type it right here. But usually I don't like it right here. I always like it to be easily for someone to look at my code and be able to read it. Okay, to be human readable, easily readable. Okay, because of that, I like to just bring it down. Then I like to just put a tab so that people knows that, okay, I'm selecting first name, I'm selecting actor ID. Take note, if you don't put the comma right here to separate those columns, see what is going to happen, guys. Execute. Let me see again, please. Okay, you can see right here that it only gave me only the actor ID. It did not give me the first name. Normally, in some cases, you might even get some error. But if I put comma right here, what happens? You can see right here, guys. It gives me both columns. And take note, when the last column you are entering, do not put a comma. If I put a comma, let's see what happens. I execute. You can see right here. It said syntax error at or near from. So that means something close to this. And that's how you are going to be debugging issues. You can see this helped me. It says line 5 that I have some error. Then I can say, okay, line 5. However, if you look at it, what is making this line 5 to have that error is this comma right here. Okay. So if I rerun it, you can see now that we have been able to return first name and the actor ID based on the requirements. And like I said, I could decide to type this in lowercase. I could decide to type this in lowercase. That is still fine. If I execute, you can see, guys, that it's still working fine. Any question on this before we go to the next question? Take note. I really want you guys to have a solid foundation in this before you leave this 3 weeks training. Okay, no question. Now, the next thing says, return all the languages and their IDs. You can see that we are still doing something very easy right here for today. It says, return all the languages and their IDs. In the chats, in our chat box right here, can you guys type for me what table you think we should be querying from right here? I'm going to have my chat open right here. Can you type it for me? What table do you think we're going to be querying from when they say return all the languages and their IDs? Okay, I see somebody say language. Okay. Type for me. Let's see. Okay, somebody say language and actor. Okay. Okay. Somebody say language. Somebody say language, and I need more data. Okay. Somebody even already gave us the, yeah, very good, very good. Take note, guys, that is how we are going to be making all this class interactive. That way, we know what we have an understanding of what you know and what you don't know, so that, I can help you guys more. Now, let's look at the question again, guys. It says, return all the languages and their IDs. That is the language ID. That is what it means. Now, let us see again what the actor table is, because somebody mentioned actor. Let us see if that is going to give us anything. Now, if you look at this, there is nothing like language right there. This is actor ID. And I'm guessing that that maybe this person thinks that we're talking about actor ID right here. That's what I think. But however, this is talking about language ID. But then let us go to language right here, guys. Yeah, but good try, guys. Good try, guys. Now look at this. Select star from language. Okay. Select star again gives you all the columns. Now, what are the columns? I have your language ID, name, the last update. And then the question says, return all the languages and their IDs. Then I'll just come here. I will say, what is this language ID? I will say language underscore ID. Okay. Then I go to the next line, and then I'll put the name, right? Take note, don't put a comma anymore, because that's the last column. Then I will say execute. Very good. This is giving us what? Language ID and name. I hope you guys understand that right now. Very good. Any question before we move to the next one? Take note, it's going to be getting harder and harder, okay? Although today's one is still easy, however, it's still going to be getting harder and harder. So I need you to ask questions if you don't understand. Okay?
Please, sir, I have a question.
Yes, very good. Go ahead.
Yeah, my question is, the first time you were typing select from language, we also have a table that is similar to this. Is there any difference between this and this language underscore ID?
Okay. What table is similar to it? Tell me.
From before you put select language ID, it has something like this, and you run it. We have a table that have this already.
This one?
Yes.
Yes. So this table, if I don't know if you were there when we started this class, where I was explaining the 6 fundamental SQL statements. So we said if you type select helps you to specify the columns. So what I'm doing right here is I am selecting all the columns. When you use asterisk, it means select for me all the columns from this table, language table. This is language table right here. If I open up this, you can see language, then the columns. You can see the columns right here, language ID, name, last update. That is what we have right here, okay? However, the question that we were just asked says that we should list the languages and their IDs, right? So what is the ID, language ID? You put it right there. because that is what you have in this table. That is the name it is called in this table, because this is the language table, right? Then what is the name of the language? The column is called what? Name. Do you get that now? The column is called name. Then I will type that. So now what I'm saying is that from this language table, only return for me 2 columns. You can see we have how many columns here? 3 columns in the language table. But according to the question, we only want 2 columns. So that is why we have this. Okay, thank you, Idris. Awesome. I'm glad you got it now. Very good. Feel free, guys, to ask questions because we want everybody to understand. Now, let us look at the next question. It says, return the first name, last name, and email address of the staff with staff ID equals to 1. We want the first name, the last name, and email address of the staff with staff ID equals to 1. Now, what table do you guys think we're going to be using right here? Can you type in the chat box? Okay, very good. Somebody says staff. Okay, another person says staff. Okay, let's get one more. Let's get one more person that will give us something different. Okay, very good. Seems you guys have mastered this art right now. You guys are giving me the correct thing. Very good, guys. Very good, guys. Now, because we want to select from the staff table, let us first of all see all the columns right there. Okay, so I will say staff from staff. Let us run it. Now, you see we have staff ID. Let me open this. Okay. We have staff ID, first name, last name, address ID, email, store ID, active, username, password, last update. Now, what did the question ask us? The question says that we should select first name, right? First name, what else? It says we should select last name, put a comma, and then we should select email, right? And then we should select the staff ID. Okay, first name, last name, and email address. Okay. Email address. Let us execute. So that means at that point, we are not going to be seeing all these columns anymore because we are only selecting these 3 columns, right? So I will execute. Very good. Now I've executed. Now, but take note, guys, there is one thing also that the question is asking us. It said that we should return first name, last name, email address of the staff with what? Staff ID equals to 1. Let me help you here, guys. Let's do something here. Let us put staff ID, just so you see what's going on. We have a staff ID right here. But now it's giving us a condition that we should only return. Somebody said something. Can you please drop down for language on the left side on your screen? Oh, okay. Okay. So now, can you guys tell me, now that we have this, but the question is asking us to only return for staff ID equals to 1. There is something else that we need to do. Can you tell me what command you guys think we should be doing right now that we should be adding to this query? Just tell me the name of the command. Okay. Somebody. Okay. Very good. Very good. You guys are already good, man. You guys are already good. Wow. Nice. Nice. In fact, somebody already gave us the command and what we need to put. Very good, guys. So all we have to do is we say where staff ID equals to 1 because it says that we should only return for staff ID 1. Very good. Just say execute. You can see we only have staff ID equals to 1. Very good, guys. Is there anybody here that still does not understand what we are doing here? Please do not be shy. Take note. Nobody knows who here. We all have come here to learn. Just if you don't understand, just unmute yourself. Ask questions, please. I really want everybody to get out of this class today and be very, very happy that you are moving towards your goal in this year, 2023. Any question? Okay, very good. Now we've been able to solve this. Very good, guys. Very good. Now let us look at the next question. So I'm going to solve this next question for you. But the next question, we are going to have a breakout session for 7 minutes. Okay, I'll tell you what we need to do right there. Okay, now let's quickly do this. It says return the full name of the staff with their email address and store ID. Okay, we want the full name. Basically, what we just did right here, you can see that the column is first name, last name, right? So since this also involves staff, what do? We can just say from staff, right? And then we can execute, right? So if we execute these, but take note that it says that we should return the full name. So that means, how can I join? And we know that full name means first name and last name, right, guys? Now, how do I join first name and last name together? That means I need to join these two columns together. And that is what brings about what we call concatenate. You have to concatenate those two columns together for you to form a full name. And take note, you may not know what this is right now. And that is the more reason why you can just go on Google ChatGPT and say, how do you concatenate two columns in PostgreSQL? Then it's going to give you that. Okay. However, there is a link I can give you, I can share with you right here. If you look at this link, let me put this link in our chat box. You can save it on your browser, or you can bookmark it, basically. So what happens is there are some things you probably did not know, or there is no way you can memorize everything, right? There are some functions that comes handy with SQL, okay, that you can just go in and just leverage that. So like in this case, I said concatenate. You want to concatenate two columns together. Just come to this and just look for, if you don't want to go to ChatGPT, you can try on this link, and then you can say concatenate. You see, I went to string functions and then I went to concatenate. What does that do? It tells me this is the operator. You see, there's two vertical lines. You can get that on your keyboard. Then it says that have the first column, that's the first string, put these two bars, then the second column or the second string, and as many columns you want to concatenate, right? So now that is what we are going to do now, guys. We want the full name. So I can say first name. Look at something I'm going to do. Then if you press your shift, and for Windows user, shift is that backslash, I think. Then you put last name. See what is going to happen here, guys. See what is going to happen. I like to take it step by step for you so that you see what's going on, okay? So let's call it full name. Now, if you also watch my videos, for those of you that have watched, there is something we call alias. There's something we call alias. But for those of you that have not watched the video, I will explain it right here. Alias simply means what other name do you want to call the column when the query is displayed right here. So what I'm saying right here is I want whatever I do right here to come out as this full name. That is what this as does. As that means, this column be displayed as full name. That is what alias does. I hope you get that right now. So that means if I say select first name, last name as full name, okay, and then what again are we asked to return? Email address. Email address. So that is email. That is what is called right here. You can see email. That is what is called. Then they also say staff ID. Staff ID. Staff ID. This is it right here. So I will say staff ID. Okay. Now let us run this, guys. Let's see what happens. Execute. You can see we have full name. You can see this column now. It has been given this alias as full name, then email, then staff ID. But there is something that is wrong right here. Can you guys tell me what is wrong right here? somebody should just...
No space.
There is no space. So what do you guys think we can do? We can also concatenate this with a space. So that means I have this concatenate, then I will then say, put a space, then concatenate again. You can say I have first name, concatenate with a space. If I do this quote right here, these two quotes, I did not put space. Let's see what happens, guys. Sometimes you just have to try it and see what happens. Okay, let's execute. You can see there is no difference. Can you see that there is no difference? Then now let us put that space right here and let us execute. Very good. Can you see that, guys? Can you see that, guys? So that is how you do all this type of stuff. When your boss asks you, can you give me the full name in one column? Don't be afraid. Just go online and see how can you join these two columns together. ChatGPT will give you, or even this link I just gave you, it will give you the function you can use, and then just use that, and then you arrive at the answer. Okay? Very good, guys. Very good. Any questions so far before we get into the next question? Okay. Okay. Very good. So let us spend, I think for the sake of time, I'm going to give you, let's do 6 minutes. Let's do a breakout session real quick, guys. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop sharing. And then I will do 6 minutes. And what I want you to do is maybe the first 2 minutes, introduce yourself, get to know each other. You know, that way you guys can go on LinkedIn and, you know, connect with each other, because you never can tell if your next job you are going to be getting is going to be maybe someone right here that is going to help you to get the next job. Or maybe you guys can be SQL study buddy, you know, to help each other to be able to get your, you know, your goals achieved this year, 2023. So I'm good. I think we have how many people right here? 1, 2, 3. We have 12 people right here. Okay. And then let us do 4 breakout sessions. So what you guys are going to be doing is you are going to be solving the next question. And that next question is the one that says, can you please display the first and last name of the actors that have greater than 7 characters in their last name? Can you please display the first and last name of the actors that have greater than 7 characters in their last name? Okay. So I want you guys to come up with a query for that. And then when we come back to the main session, then you guys can, you know, type it out. Somebody's asking, what is my LinkedIn? If I'm okay, yeah, I'll give you my LinkedIn link. Don't worry. And by the way, I also have it in the curriculum. I think I have it in the curriculum. So you guys will then come into the main session and then you'll paste it in the chat box, and then I will do the correction for us. Okay. And this is to help you guys to team bond, to form team, to bond as a team, and also to work out problems as a team, because people are going to be having different ideas and you guys can walk through. And also the link I gave you where you can see the different functions in SQL, you can also leverage that to answer the question, especially the question that, because it's asking you for the last name that have greater than 7 characters. Let's see how you're going to get this done. So we're going to have breakout. I'm going to have 4 breakout rooms, and this is going to be assigned automatically. Here we go, guys. I'm going to do that right now.
That's not enough time. Not enough time. But it's okay. We'll manage it like that.
Oh man, somebody said not enough time. Wow. Is that true for everyone, every other group? Somebody has that smiling face.
No, sir.
No, sir, it's not true. It's only their group, sir.
It's only their group.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
I love that.
think I want to support her.
The time was really short.
The
time was really short.
Yeah, mainly because you have to bond before you do the assignment. So you know the bonding is
true.
a little bit.
Yeah.
You chat a little bit. So
it's good. It's one of the things that you get out of this also, right? Yeah. Sometimes you might not get it completed, that's fine. Sometimes you get it completed, that's also fine. Most importantly, you guys work as a team. You guys get to know each other, connect with each other on LinkedIn. I just put in my LinkedIn link. I don't know if you guys saw it. So for those of you that wants to connect with me, so, but I think it's a good experience. Do you guys like it?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, you meet somebody new and get to learn more about them.
Awesome. And that's how we are going to be doing it, We are going to be doing it. That's how you get to know each other. You get to connect to people, because your next job, you don't know who is going to help you to get that next job. You don't know who is that person that you can reach out to when you're having some issues. I remember when I was learning programming, I had some friends that would just call, hey, I'm having this problem. I don't know what to do. Can you help me take a look? That's how you bond with people that can lift you up as you learn all these things. Very good. Very good. For those of you that were able to do it, if you can put your answer in the chat box, that would be great. But if you could not complete it, still put whatever you have right there. Just copy and paste and just put it right there, so that we'll see what we are doing right now. Awesome. Thank you, guys. I can see some people actually did something great. Now, let's see this. It says, can you please display the first and last name of the actors that have greater than 7 characters in their last name, right? So now, in the case of this, I can see you guys did an amazing job. I think at least the first thing that you want to know is, what table do I want to pull data from, right? And I can see what you guys pasted for me right here. It shows to me that you know what you are talking about right here. So I will say, select star, then we go to actor, because we want the first and the last name of the actors, right? So I'll say select star from actor. So we have actor ID, first name, last name. Now, because we want the first name, so I will say first name, then I will say last name, right? I will execute that. Very good. But now in this case, we said that we want a case whereby the last name is greater than 7 characters, right? And if you remember this site that I showed you, so just come right here and see, how do you calculate length, right? So just click on length and it tells you, write the word length and put the string inside, which is going to be the column, right? So what you then need to do is you can just come here and say length, right? And then you put the name of that column. What is the column? Last name. I put the last name inside, because this is going to calculate the last name for us. Let me do it step by step for you guys. In the table itself, we have first name and last name, which we have showed right here. Now, we want to calculate the length of the last name, of all the last names. So if I say length of last name, how do I know that this is the function for me to use to calculate length? I went to that link that I gave to you to see how do I do that. And this gave me the syntax to use. If you don't know also, you can go on Google or you can go on ChatGPT, right? Now, I just explained something to you that is called alias. So I can put right here, I can say I can call it length of last name. Take note, you can give it any name you like. So this is the alias, right? So that means that I'm creating another column that is not part of the table, that is not part of the actor table. I'm creating another column and I'm calling it length last name or length of last name, anyhow you want to call it. So if I execute this, let's re-execute. Okay, very good. Sometimes PG admin does that. You can see now The length of this name Guinness is 7. Length of this Wahlberg is 8, right? Now you have gotten that. Then the next question now says, we only want to return or display those ones that the length of the last name is greater than 7 characters. And that is where you use your where clause, right? So I will then come here and I will say where this length of last name, you see that, guys, is greater, that's the greater than sign, 7. Anybody have any problem with this right now before we move on? Very good. I will execute. Now you can see right now, I've executed all the things that I'm having right here. You can see they are all length of last name greater than 7. And if you want, you can order this. You can order this column. You can see that right here, these are not ordered. This just came out in any randomly, right? If I want, I can sort it. I can sort it. I can say order by. Remember, I was telling you about order by when I was showing you the PowerPoint right here. I told you order by, right? So now in the case of this one, I can say I want to order by the length of the last name. If I do this, and I did not put anything in front, it's going to order this in ascending order. Let us execute. You can see, guys, it says 8, 9, 11, 12. The same thing if I put ASC, is still going to be ascending. It's going to be the same thing. Okay. If I want it in descending, then I'll do this. You can see in descending 12, 11, 9, 8. Do you guys get that now? Any question on that? No question. Am I still recording? Let me see.
Yes, it says you are still recording.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very good. Do you guys understand this right now? Any question, guys? Any question? Awesome, no question. Thank you. Shows that you guys are really getting this thing. Now I'm going to
Sorry, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Is there any rule as to the order in which you write the query? Like, for example, you started from select, from where, order by.
Very good.
Does it have to be that order?
Very good question. Let's see. I take out this. It's a very good question. Did you see what I did now? Just so you know that the order matters. Did you see what I did?
Yes, actually learned this the hard way.
Yeah, so let us execute. You see that? He said there is a syntax error near from. Why? Because you put this guy right there. Let me take this guy out. Let us run. We get something right here, right? Now, let me put this right here. Execute. You see there is an error. And that was why I gave you this. That's why I put this accordingly. Select. You go to from. You go to where. Okay? And then order is always the last. But we have not used group by and having. We are going to be doing that next week. You'll see how we are going to be doing that. Okay? So order matters, to answer your question. But I just wanted you to see, instead of me just saying, yes, it does.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good question. I love that. So let's look. I'm going to skip the next question that says return all the distinct customer IDs who made the payment. I think that should be pretty easy. Well, yeah, just try that and let me know if you're having issues with that. Okay. But I wanted to go to some more stuff that will probably take some time. Now, the next question says, return all payment records from first 20 customers based on customer ID. Sort the result by the customer ID. Okay. Now, if you look at this question, we want to return all the payment records from first 20 customers, payment records. What table do you guys think we want to use right there? Payment, thank you. Somebody already put payment because it says payment records, and we know we have payment table. So I will say select star from payments. Let's quickly run that. Let's see what we have in the payment table. You can see payment ID, customer ID, staff ID, rental amount, and payment date. But it says that return all payment records from first 20 customers. First 20 customers. What do you think right there? For the first 20 customers, okay, you are going to be seeing that if you take a look at this table very well, this table, the customer ID is from 1 downwards. How do I know that? If I do order by customer ID, see what I'm going to have. If I do order by customer ID, you can see that this customer ID here is 341, but I expect it to come from 1 downwards. You can see, I mean 1 to 2 to 3, you can see. So I have customer ID 1, I have customer ID 2, 3. You can see that, guys. However, the question is saying that we should return all the payment records from the first 20 customers. That means from customer ID 1, customer ID 2, customer ID 3, customer ID 4, customer ID 5, up to customer ID 20. Okay, what command do you guys think that we can leverage to be able to get that done? And that's going to be a where clause, right? Because we want to put a condition on our query. We only want to bring out only want to display a table that contains customer ID from 1 to 20. Now, how do we do that? Take note again, other matters, just like we just mentioned. I will come right here and I will say where customer ID, I will say where customer ID is greater or equal to, remember we need to start from 1. So I'll say greater or equal to 1, right? And customer ID is what? Less than or equal to 20. What does this mean? This means that start from 1, right? Because I have this equal to, right? If there is no 1 there, start from something greater than 1. It could be 2, it could be 3, right? But in the case of this one, we know there is 1. So it's going to start from 1 and then stop at 20, right? If there is no 20, it's going to be something less than 20, right? But because we know that we want both 1 and 20, that is why we put the equal to sign as well. Then we would execute. Somebody asked the question that if we just say less than 20, I think that's what this person is saying. If we say less than 20, it's not going to give us the same thing, because if we put less than like this, then it's going to stop at 19. Okay.
Oh, no. My question is, if you just say less than or equal to 20 without saying greater than or equal to 1, won't it naturally give us from 1 to 20?
Yeah, it will give you, but that is because in your query, that's because in your table you have 1, you have 2, you have 3, and stuff like that, you know. But this helps you to just put it in a range. Do you understand it now? It will still give you, right? But this is just to help you to say, okay, I really want between 1 and 20, 1 and 20 inclusive.
So this would be more useful for if it were not, maybe if you were saying from a 7 to 20.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. You see that now? You see that we are starting from 7. You see that? Yeah. And yeah, if we want to use what you just said right here, I can cut it. I like your question. You know, these are the ways like you try something out and you see if it works. If I do this, you can see it gave you just like you mentioned, right? Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and also another way to also do it, you can use the word between. If you want to do that, you can use the word between. I can do something like this. Where customer ID between 1 and 20. According to Postgres, if you use the word between 1 and 20 like this, it means 1 and 20 is going to be inclusive. But in some other DBMS, between might not include both of them. And that's what I was telling you the last time, that syntax is the same thing for almost the same, about 85%. However, in some cases, you see some little differences. So in some flavors of SQL, you also have the between like this, but if I have 1 and 20, these numbers might not be inclusive. Yes, and that's one thing you need to know for any of the flavors you are working with. Okay, if I run this now, you can see that it gave me the same thing. You can see that instead of me using less than or greater than or equal to and less than or equal to, I'm using the word between. Okay. Now, very good. Now let's look at the next one. Okay, the next one that says that display the rental IDs and their return dates, where the return date is between 2005 August 3rd and 2005 August 31st, with both dates inclusive. We want to sort by return date. We'll do this and we'll maybe do one more before we end today, and then we'll continue next week. We'll continue from here next week. We'll just, quickly round it up also next week or so. And I also expect you to go and practice it so that, we don't spend, too much time. Go and watch those videos on my channel. Okay. Now let's look at this one, because we are talking about rental IDs right there. So that means that we're going to be using the rental table, right? So I will say rental, select star, then rental. Okay, you can see that the rental table gives me rental ID, rental date, inventory, customer ID, staff ID, return date. I have return date, okay? And it says that I should return the rental ID. So I'll come here, I'll say rental ID, right? And also I should return the return date. Return date, okay, let's return that. Let's execute. Very good, you can see. And it says that where the return date is between 2005 August 3rd and August 31, okay, I would copy and paste something right here for you guys. Remember that this is the table. Then in this case, we need to use the word, the where clause. Now, you guys are starting to understand the where clause now, okay? Now, if you look at this is the date that we are trying to, this is how you comment in SQL. You just put dash dash. It's going to comment this out. That means it's not going to see this as a code, okay? So now we want to return between August 3rd, 2005. So we are going to put that here. And this one right here, inclusive. Now, one thing about Postgres using between for dates is that it's going to include this first one right here, but it is not going to include this last one here. Take note of that. It's not going to include this last one here. And why did I make this September 1st? Because I want to stop at August 31st. If I put August 31st right here, then the result I'm going to get will stop at August 30th. Okay, take note of how between works for Postgres. So if I execute this now, what happened? Let's execute again. Okay, very good. So I will say, you see that you have rental ID, and then we have the return date. If you really want to do it to see where we stopped at, I can come here and say I can order by return dates. If I order by return date in, let's say ascending, so that we'll see how it grows. You can see we have August 3rd, right? And the last one should be August 31st. Let's just keep scrolling down. We're going to take a few seconds. We'll scroll to the bottom lists. I hope you guys are getting this now. We're almost there. Stay on 7.4.10. Okay, now you can see right here, guys, that the last one right here is August 31st. Why is it August 31st? Because this is going to stop at the date just before this September 1st. September 1st is not going to be included. Take note of that. This is different from the one we just did right now, that we said that if you say between 7 and 10, if you say between 7 and 10 or 1 and 10, that one is going to include both 1 and 10. But for date, it's going to include only this first one. It is not going to include this last one, right? It's going to include one lesser. Okay. I hope you guys understand it. And I also explained this in my video. Let us also look at one more. Let's look at one more before. I know we've done a lot of stuff today. Any questions so far? Okay, no question. Let's look at one more so that before we call it a close for today, and then we'll continue next week. But I will encourage you to go and practice. Go and practice. Now, let's look at this question that says, return a list of films whose description has the word scientist and replacement cost is less than $11. The word could be a combination of lower and uppercase, meaning scientist could be a combination of lower and uppercase. Please return the title, description, replacement cost, and rating. Okay, let us take a look at this. From this question, where do we think the table are going to be using right here? Normally, like I said, nobody would tell you, yeah, I see somebody say film, very good. So I would say select star from film. And that's where, even if you are not sure, just do a select star from film first, execute, and take a look at the table, see if it gives you what you are looking for. You can see this gives us title, description, replacement costs. We have replacement cost, and it also gives us rating. Okay, so now let us put that right there. We say we want title, we say we want description, right? We say we want replacement costs, we put a comma, and then we put rating. We put rating. I can just bring this right here, though it doesn't matter. And then I can execute. Now you can see we have title, description, replacement cost, and rating. But they gave us some conditions right here. They said that where the description, whose description has the word scientist. So that means that in this description, we only want to return the ones that have scientists. Take, for example, like this one, this is scientist. But it says that the scientist could be a combination of lowercase and uppercase. And if you watch my video, I explained what like and I like is, right? So this is where I'm going to use where description, that's the description column, like. Okay, now what do? We are going to put this in a quote. But because we said that this could be a combination of lower and uppercase, that means we are not concerned about if it's upper or lower. It could be any of those combinations. Because of that, you are going to put I like. Okay, you are going to have I like. Now, because this is like text, this is text right here, right? And we want which of these rows has the word scientist, right? So that means they could have something else before scientist. They could have something else after scientist. Take, for example, let's look at this particular one right here. I don't know if you guys can see this one very well. You can see that before this scientist, there are more than one or more characters before scientist and one or more characters after scientist, right? And that is why if you want to filter these out, you will use what we call wildcards. wildcards. So I will put this %, okay? And then I will type scientists. Did I spell it right? No. Scientists, then I'll put % again. Now, what is this saying? This is saying that there will be one or more characters before scientist, one or more characters after scientist. If there is anything like that, return that for me. Okay, if there is anything like that, return that for any row that has scientist. That means the scientist does not mean that it's only scientists you have in that row. You have one or more characters before scientist, one or more characters after scientist. Okay, and then remember that they also said that and replacement cost is less than $11. That means we have two conditions right here. We need to meet those two conditions. Okay, so I will say and, right, replacement costs. Okay, if you want, you can just put that in the next line so that you can read it very well. So that means we are saying that where I like is this, and the replacement cost, they said, is less than $11. So I'll put less than $11. That means that the rows I'm going to return needs to meet these two criteria. It needs to meet both criteria, not one of them. It needs to meet both criteria. Okay, now I will execute. Let's execute again. Okay, very good. Like I said, there's something with PGAdmin. Sometimes it just does that. So you can see now we have title, description, replacement cost, rating. You can see that all the replacement costs we have right here, they are less than $11. And you can see that all these ones have scientists in them. Scientist, this one, if you see scientist, you know, scientist, and all of that. That is how you can use SQL to do whatever thing that your boss wants you to do, or whatever thing you also want to query from a database. Okay, that is that about that, guys. And then we still have like 3 more questions here, which you can go and practice, and then we can quickly tackle that also next week. Very good. Yes, you have a question.
So does it matter that in the replacement cost column, we have decimal points? Does it matter that our specification or our question does not include a decimal?
No, your question can include decimal also.
The code, the query we wrote, we just wrote 11. We don't have to specify that it's 11.0 and then put a decimal. Yeah.
If you look at it, it's still the same thing, because the SQL knows that 11.0 is the same thing as 11.
Okay.
Yeah, very good question. If we do, let's see what happens if you say 10.99. If you say less than 10.99, then that means we should only be saying only these two, right? I think. Let's see. You see that?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Good question. I love that. It shows that you guys are following, and you guys really want to learn, and you want to get to the next level. Very good, guys. So that is that for today. And I hope you guys, understand all that we have done. But before you guys leave, because I don't want to waste your time, so I want to have quick reminders for you right here. The first one is that if you have not installed Postgres and PGAdmin, please do that as soon as possible so that you can practice these questions that we have done, and even the remaining questions. Okay, so please go ahead and do that, and that's the only way you can get better. And for those of you that came late today, these videos that is being recorded I think by Monday, I should have them in my YouTube channel. So, and for those of you that were in the class from the beginning, but you still want to watch it again to understand some things very well, you can still go back, and watch that video. And also the videos for next week, please, I beg you, go and watch them, because that is what will help you to come into the class ready to delve into answering questions. We should be having I think we should be able to have 2 breakout sessions next week. So be ready for that. And watch out for the curriculum, where I'm going to put the link to the next week question, the practice problem set, okay? So make sure you watch the videos. And for those of you that have not watched the videos for this week, make sure you go and watch that as well. Do you understand? And one thing also, please, I'm begging you, please go ahead and like our videos, because as you know, that as you like our videos, that YouTube can rank us higher. The YouTube algorithm can rank us higher, so that way YouTube knows that people like this video. So, and also, if you have any questions, go ahead and put comments in the comment section, okay, and help to share this video among your friends. And if you have still not subscribed and you are right here on this channel, please go ahead and subscribe, please, because we are still going to be putting in more videos, so you don't want to miss out in any of these things. If you are not following me yet on LinkedIn, go ahead and do that. And if you are also not following tuplespectra on Instagram, please go ahead and do that. All those information are in your curriculum. Please, your curriculum has all the details that you need. Ensure you go over your curriculum. It has all the details. And if I have anything for you again in the next week, I'll be sending emails out to you guys, okay? Once again, don't forget to subscribe to tuplespectra YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, connect with me on LinkedIn. And also, for those of you that have networked with each other, make sure you connect with each other. You never can tell where you guys are going to be needing help from each other, okay? Any other question before we leave the class for today? Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thanks for staying all through the session, and thanks for making the class very, very interactive. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir.